Hello, everyone, and welcome.
Oh
Hello,
my God.
everyone.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, Sally. Welcome, everyone. Let's get started. It's great to have you with us today. If your days have been feeling like an endless cycle of documentation, system logins, and firefighting, well, you're not alone, and we're coming up to the holiday period as well. Um, and you're in the right place, though, today. Today's session is called Reclaim Time in Clinical Trials, Practical Strategies for Overloaded Teams. And our focus is entirely on helping you find more clarity, more breathing room, and more control in the middle of what has become an incredibly demanding landscape for clinical research professionals. Across sites, CROs, and sponsor environments, we're hearing the same story. More documentation, more complexity, more systems, logins, but not more time and rarely more hands. So, in the next 30 minutes, we're going to stay very practical. No fluff, no abstract theory, just actionable adjustments you can take back to your team. I'm Maree Beare. I'm founder and CEO of Clinials, where our work centres on making clinical research clearer, faster, and more human, especially when it comes to protocol driven documentation and operational clarity. With Clinials, it's now possible to generate trial materials in minutes, not hours or days. And today we're joined by Dr. Sally Dillehay, President and Chief Medical Officer of ClinTrial Solutions. Sally has overseen more than 300 trials worldwide and brings deep expertise in regulatory strategy, operational design, and the realities that your teams face day to day. A quick couple of notes before we begin. We are recording this webinar and you'll receive the replay automatically after the session. We also have a Q&A period near the end, so feel free to drop questions in the Q&A box as we go. So let's begin. Sally, welcome, and please enlighten us as to what is the reality many of you are living in right now.
Thank you, Maree, and I am so glad to be here. And if you saw me dash in at the last second, you know I need things that help me save time. My daughter got married this past April, and I'm always this very organized person. And I think that just like put such a different level of stress on my schedule that I started looking for what tools are out there that can save me time, that can save our team time. And certainly everybody's talking about AI. I've used a lot of the AI tools. I try them. Some of them end up taking me more time to like edit. Like they generate something that's 80% there, but then I spend so much time editing it that it really didn't save me any time. So one of the tools that I tried was Clinials, and it immediately saved me hours. And it was just so wonderful that I reached out to Maree and I'm like, I would love to work with you guys. What about this and what about this? And they have all kinds of ideas coming, but it just to be able to enter a protocol, upload it, even just a protocol synopsis, and have all of these different documents come out that then I can use to give to a sponsor or submit to our IRB, put a schedule of activities together to give to our director of training, to give to our director of quality so she knows what standards we're going to be going against for that trial has been tremendous. And I don't know if everybody on the call has had a chance to look, but they're just launching a new document for when you go to like an investment meeting, the big one being JP Morgan in January. And you know how that meeting goes, right, Maree? It's like every 30 minutes you're scheduled, you run solid for 3 straight days. To be able to have something that was generated and you want to go in and maybe put your own little tone here and your own little tone there, but it's like 90% there. And then I can feed that into other tools and create a slide set. for the presentation, or give it to someone on our team that then creates like a summary sheet for the practices to hang up in the research room so they know exactly what activities at each visit goes on. So I've found it tremendous help, and it's become a big part of what I'm using to put together my budgets for sites, my protocols, my IRB submissions. It's front and center as soon as I get the synopsis going.
Yeah. So thanks for that introduction, and it's great to have you along, Sally. One of the most important starting points that we're acknowledging here today is what teams are facing today isn't simply a busy period. Over the past decade, as we've seen, trial protocols have become significantly more complex, more procedures, endpoints, amendments, and documentation requirements. So overload is no longer about individual performance, it's the shape of the work itself. So to get a sense of how this feels across the group today, we're going to start with a quick poll. So I think Sam's going to present that now, if you can see it. Hopefully it's coming up.
I don't see it yet, Sam.
Oh, yep, there it is. There it is, yeah.
There might be like a lag.
How would you describe your current workload? Manageable, at the edge, or unsustainable? Chaos should have been added there, I think. Yeah, we've got a lot of people at the edge at this time of year.
Don't jump. There's help.
There's no surprises there. I mean, Sally, you've seen this across hundreds of teams and countless situations. When you think about this, how this overload shows up operationally, what stands out to you?
I think your word complexity, Maree, is really a key word. Most of our studies that we do are for US based companies and work on FDA submissions, and they have gotten more and more complex. They are giving us endpoints that have never been validated in that population, or this type of test has never been used the way they want us to use it. So then, of course, they want us to go validate it for fit for purpose. And all of that takes, to me, what I call like deep thinking time. It's not the time where the phone's ringing and you got a meeting. It's like the sit down, quiet in my head. Okay, how does this fit in? They want a 3-hour dark adapted test in children who have to be dilated before the test. And to me, it's getting rid of the busy work, getting rid of some of these things like writing a protocol and then making sure every single document, as it goes through the team, remains the same. And that's what feeding into your system really does for me, is streamline that. I don't have to go, oh, I have to check this to make sure that so-and-so got the changed inclusion criteria, because it all flows through your system. And so it frees up that time to think, to really think and strategize. What's the best way to run this? How do we do this? Do we go back to the FDA and say, this is not possible? And that's what's really missing, I think, for a lot of people. It's not that they're running around with their hair on fire. Like, that happens to everyone. And I think most people are resilient enough to get through that, as long as it's not every single day. But you need that quiet time. You need that time to just think. And I think we've all become so busy with, how many emails do you get a day? And, the amount of information in a newspaper now is like the amount of information that existed in a public library in the 1800s, just like one thing. And you put emails and phones and calls from your sponsors and, adverse events going on and working with teams around the world. You need something to relieve that pressure. And I think people really enjoy the challenging work. So if we can take some of that, more transactional, more automated stuff off of their plate and put them in front of them, something that gives them a draft to start with that they can think about. I'm finding we're getting much better outcomes as a result, much better study results, because we've been able to really think through the study design before we ever even submit to the IRB.
Yeah. So it sounds like this is a practical workflow change, this enablement of, working through the transactional and understanding the reoccurring patterns that this occurs and the small adjustments that the team needs to make a difference, do you think?
Yeah, I do. And I see several of our team members on here. Thank you guys for calling in. This is sort of trickling down to them. They may not realize that a lot of what I've passed down to them has started with your software, because I do the budgets and I do the drafting of the documents, and then basically the team takes care of everything else. And I just sort of have to start the flow, and then they're all fantastic people and they take over from there. So they're just probably now starting to see this flow down for me, and we should have more consistency for them and make things easier for them as it goes along. But it takes a team. I mean, when they talk about it takes a team to raise a kid, anyone who's run a trial, it takes a team to run a trial. Stuff is always happening. I heard several CROs like stand up the stage and talk about how they've run these perfect trials. God help them. I'm glad for them. I've never run a perfect trial. I'm the first to admit it, because we're dealing with humans in every aspect. And so to have a tool like this that sort of takes some of that back away, make sure everything's consistent, and then the human touch comes in and connects those details to what needs to be done without having to worry about, is the inclusion here the same as what is on that person's document? And so that's where I've really seen the time savings.
Yeah, big on time. And so I think we've what we're touching on here is between what the internal teams are doing, and then you've mentioned your own team and how you're helping. So we're talking about what the site teams, the CROs or the sponsors team, they can adjust internally. But if we have consultants coming in and being well used, like a pressure valve, relieving some of the team during the peaks, bringing in some of this clarity or the tools with clarity, and building, improving the documentation quality and building assets that continue to deliver value long after the engagement, or maybe consistently throughout the engagement. What, from your experience across hundreds of trials, I mean, you bring this expertise to this conversation, which is I'm so appreciative of. Where do consultants make the biggest difference? I mean, we've probably got some people on this call that may not have delved into this area or think that they're trying to do it alone. They're just so overburdened. They can't see how they can make us, the consultants can be this pressure valve to make a small difference. Where can they actually create, or where can consultants make the biggest difference in these, or where, and then also we always looking at the comparison, where can they actually create more work? So I think it's key for the audience here to understand the leverage.
I think that's a really great question. And obviously you've worked with consultants, because sometimes it is more work, right?
Yeah.
Like you bring them in and you got to teach them everything. And it's very hard up front. Like you sometimes want to lose your patience because it's hard to see long-term, how is this going to save me time? But you do have to go through that training, and it does eventually save you time. I had one guy that was referred to me as a consultant, and he came in and I interviewed him, and he handed me his card, and XYZ consulting company, and his title was not president or CEO. His title was lifesaver. And, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay, you're charging a pretty high fee. You better really save me some time if you're going to put that on your card.
Mm.
And to tell you the truth, he was probably one of the worst consultants I've ever worked with because he came in with his own view, right? I need somebody who can come in and fit in with the team. Like we all have great team members. You all have great team members. I need somebody that adds to the team, not that somebody that takes away. And if you're going to come in and sort of superimpose your ideas, they need to be really strong ideas. And I think a lot of consultants have that mindset. Like they're great, they're subject matter experts, and maybe they know more about human factors testing than I do, and I will defer to their human factors testing expertise. But the process that my team has, you need to work within. So we have SOPs. They can read that. They can train on that. Honestly, we've ended up going to only people that we know or people that we know. Um, I've stopped spending time on, just sort of like I find someone on LinkedIn or even, data monitors to that level, working with people that I know that they're going to deliver, that they're a same mindset. We work with a lot of startup companies. And so we try to keep our costs as low as possible. I was in big pharma, worked for a division of Novartis. I was in a small company where I was employee number 3 out of 4. And, both have advantages and disadvantages. And oddly, I probably used consultants more when I was in big pharma than in the small company because we had the resources. But they sometimes think they have all the answers and they need to come in and listen to the questions first. What is it that we need your help with versus trying to superimpose sort of a process model that you have. And so flexibility, I think, is a big thing. I happened to hear Bill Gates lecture. It was 1997. I only remember because it was the year my son was born. And I was in China, and there's a hotel there where most Americans stay when they're adopting a child from China because they have to be there like 6 weeks or 6 months, something like that. So the hotel does a nice job catering to those of us, special foods and all of that. And they brought in Bill Gates as a speaker. So we were in the dining room afterwards, and he comes over and he introduces himself. And he was talking about the internet. And he said, so this is 1997, okay? For those of you who are too young to know, when you called the internet then, you would hear a dial tone. It was truly dial up, okay? Very slow speeds. He said most people right now are over believing what the internet can do right now, but underestimating what it's going to do in 20 or 30 years. Think about if you could have, and he didn't say the word drone, but a little plane like deliver packages to your house on Sunday afternoon from your grocery store. And I sit back and I think about that conversation. It was so prophetic. And that's what I see with AI. AI holds all of this promise, and then there's the reality. And not all of it is living up to that promise. And that's honestly why, Maree, I stayed with your software because it really does. There is one software that I have used. My team can tell you I've probably bawled from just the 2 hours it took me to edit one slide. The slide was gorgeous, but when it came out to me, every bullet point, every line, every period was a separate item that had to be edited. It was ridiculous. 2 hours, one slide. I'm like, done. No,
That's
I'm
not
not doing
time
this.
saving, is it?
That is not time saving at all. Yeah. So, I think there's a lot out there, and I think consultants are going to be used more and more because as complexity gets added in, we're going to have to bring in, these people. But to the consultants out there, I would say, try to be mindful of budgets. Even when I was at a division of Novartis, I have friends at, J&J and divisions of J&J. people still have budgets. They might be bigger budgets than small companies, but they still have budgets. And you have to be mindful of that if you want to try to add to the project versus take away. I had a project I inherited, which was sort of a mess, a lot of cleanup work, rescue. It was a rescue mission. And so the first month, I just sort of, let the team do what the team was doing, figure out who's who and what's their role. And then I got their invoices. And there was this one person, and he had been on 2 calls, maybe 3 calls a week for a month. Never really contributed very much. He'd say, "Oh, well, what about this or what about that?" Couple sentences in an hour meeting. The bill was $50,000 a month. That is what he was billing the company. Yeah. Now, the company was based in Japan. They had engineers making less than that a year than he was making to sit on 2 or 3 phone calls a month. So that's the kind of people that, unfortunately, give consultants a bad name. But there are good ones out there, and work with people that to find the good ones.
Yeah. So I think with this, we'll nut this out, or the team or the attendees will start to think about a small project, a pilot project that they could start small with a consultant. But one theme that keeps coming up repeatedly when we talk to CROs and sites is technology fatigue, especially when the sponsor brings their own systems. And a simple lens that we see, because there's always a complaint about too many logons, etc., those sorts of things. And I think it's really critical for the audience to think about, if you're bringing in technology, and is it useful? Does it reduce clicks and handovers? Does it remove duplicate data entry? And does it lower cognitive load, making it easier to see the right information at the right time? So strategically thinking about the use of technology to do those and undertake those 3 tests. So Sally, can you share a few examples of automation that truly lightens the load, and a few where the added technology actually creates more friction? I think you've mentioned that already. And if you have time, if you've got time, I think some examples for this audience, because obviously there's a cost with consultants, but I've heard you talk about what a consultant can bring to the table with the use of technology and the money you can save.
Yeah, so for someone like me who is not a technological person, I can find my way through software and that kind of stuff. But if you said to me it's a C+, COBOL programming, blah, 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 it'd be totally over my head. I have no idea what you're talking about. So that part of your brain, Maree, and your team's brain, I need that help to say, here's what we need to do. What's the best technology out there to do that? Otherwise, I'm just sort of hunting and pecking and really not, I might stumble upon something, right? Or something that's been tested. We're looking at new project management software. I have never personally found project management software to be worth it. By the time you get the charts and the Gantt and the this, I'd rather write it down in my little paper book where I can see it, and I got it outlined on my whiteboard in my office. But other people have been successful because there's all kinds of project software. So I was looking at one particular, and one of my team members is on here, she said, "Oh, look at this one. I've used it and very successfully." And I had sort of, looked at it a little bit, but when I knew that she found it to be more helpful than the one I was looking at, I did a deeper dive. And it I would have made a mistake had I gone with sort of my first impression. So I think, having the consultants be able to say they know your process and they know outside software that's going to help you with that process. And so that's one that we're going to be implementing in 2026, is that new project management software. We do a lot of different things. So we have a division that does regulatory and quality, helps people get their quality systems up. And it integrates with our clinical side because, of course, we have to have a quality system to operate clinical trials under. So there's a lot of synergy, but there's also sort of different pieces to our business, and finding one tool that sort of works for all of those pieces is not always easy. And so having somebody who understands the technology better than I do and understands how we work as a team has been really helpful. We've got a lot of young people, and the knowledge of these guys, like, I mean, they open this box and somehow they know magically swipe up this, blah. I'm like, what? Like, where's the on button? I don't even see an on button, right? Like, just give me an on button. That's all I need.
Exactly.
But it's technologies, I mean, it's advancing so quickly that for people like me that use it, but don't know it and don't want to know it, it's hard to know what's best.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you need an expert like you or your team to sort of guide us. Like, here's why we do this and here's why we do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I know we're going to run out of time soon, but I think there's that conversation around the different I guess ages of people in the industry. We also have I compare it those that are jumping in to the open AI tools. That's awesome because that's admin reduction. But I compare it a little bit to, say, using a spreadsheet. I mean, I'm not an expert or a junkie with Excel formulas and things, right? I wouldn't do my tax that way. I can do little things. And I think what we're seeing with AI and prompting is that we can go in and do our most of us can go in and do our general queries, but a lot of us are not going to be prompt engineers. And that's, I guess, what that's where you could lose 5 or 6 hours trying to be a prompt engineer with learning things, and then you don't have a consistency. I think we've had a conversation around this, Sally, around why, and that's why Clinials is the time saver, is because all of that work, there's very complex algorithms to try and capture information out of a protocol. You can't get that consistency by just popping it into an open AI engine. I don't know. Have you had that experience, Sally?
Yes, actually, one of our clients, a CEO in Japan, he lives and dies by Chat GPT.
Yeah.
So every question that pops into his head, he puts into Chat GPT, and that must be the truth. And so I learned from a friend of mine, actually, like, after you get an answer out of one of these, write a second prompt. Okay, play devil's advocate. Now tell me everything you got wrong. Criticize your own work. And they changed their answer. And that to me is really scary. It's like, you just told me it was A, but now you're saying A is wrong and B. So were you lying to me then? Or are you lying to me now? And that's where I think people don't realize that AI is not there yet. I don't think it's going to replace, quite honestly, any of our jobs. I think it's going to make our jobs easier and give us more time to work on more fulfilling things, more challenging things. And I've experienced that certainly using the Clinial software. But I don't know, not in my lifetime. I don't think I'll be replaced by a robot. There's still got to be a thinking person.
Exactly. Now, I know we're running out of time. Some people are having to jump off, but I'd like to throw it to the floor if there's any questions. Is there any questions in the Q&A? Put your hand up, I guess, if you'd like to ask a question.
I don't know if Sam could do a quick on the fly poll, like how many people, because you signed up for this seminar, did you go to the Clinials website and did you look at what they do? They have a free trial that you can upload. I think, Maree, is that still there?
Yeah.
That's how I got hooked. Yeah. I uploaded one document and I got, oh my gosh, in 30 seconds, 4 documents that I needed. So if you haven't done it, go do it. And even beyond the free trial, the costing, I just build it into our budgets now. It's just so effective. And then I feed into other tools. I've been working with another group that then can take that and build a budget down to the zip code level. So we get a lot of requests from like investigator initiated trials. and they don't know what to charge. They have absolutely no idea. And so that particular tool, and Maree knows that group as well. It comes right on top of it and just sort of makes a nice, smooth process. And in an hour, I can have a proposal together that used to take me 10, 12 hours to do.
Yeah, and that's the time-saving thing. You can actually get started on our website. We've really tried to nail the time-saving aspect of using Clinials. You can go to our website, do the free trial, sign in a couple of minutes, upload your protocol. Depending on the complexity, it might take up to 4 minutes. So, but we're trying to improve on that, and then generate your draft document. So, I mean, you really can have a document set in under 10 minutes with Clinials, and off you go.
It's incredible.
That can include complex protocol to marketing strategies, patient information sheets, investigator summaries. I mean, you use those, Sally, don't you? I mean, those going to JPM can do the investor summaries.
There's marketing. Landing pages for recruitment for your trials. I mean, it's amazing what they've built.
The important thing is this is a community effort. So, we are always going to be taking feedback. You can do your own templates within Clinials, but if you want our help, or you think everybody should be having this particular report, we'd like a lens from a PM, or we'd like a lens of the CRA or the CRC, well, then those are the reports that we want to do for the community. So I think this is a community endeavor to really speed up. And then from the consultant aspect, we're really starting a community of consultants as well that can help out all of those overwhelmed sites and CROs. So, those consultants that are become familiar with this tool, that it's in their toolkit, they're obviously going to be more helpful to the community. So I think that's, we've run out of time now. So if there's anything last you want to say, Sally, before we go, obviously I'm going to say, go to clinials.com. I put it in the chat, get started, reach out if you've got any other reports you want to do. Be cognitive of the type of problem you want to save.
Happy to, if anybody wants to reach out to me through LinkedIn or my email and ask me other questions. Whenever we lecture as doctors, we have to, do full disclosure in terms of financial conflicts. I have no financial interest whatsoever in Maree's company. I wish I did, because it's amazing. It saves so much time. It's really been incredible. And it gives me that time space to really sit back and think. By the way, I think my daughter's wedding turned out really well. And so that extra 10 to 12 hours a week that you freed up for me went towards that. I'm just teasing, because my son-in-law is actually on the call. So I'm just teasing him a little bit, but it really did. Like, awesome. I was at my breaking point. Like, it was like, I could not take on a project of that magnitude. And we had a fabulous wedding planner, and the kids did everything, but still, as the mom, like, there was a lot I had to think through. And you just don't get time back in your day very often for the small investment that this program offers. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, and for the sites and CROs out there, that means that you can spend more time doing the enjoyable part of your role, whether that's, speaking to people, whether that's, working with patients. That's, I guess, the time back. And as you said, Sally, that's the brain. That's the brain clearance. That's why I created Clinials, because I couldn't believe how complex these protocols were. It was taking days. I did it for me, and now I'm giving it to you. It's my gift to the industry.
How nice. 200-page protocols. I mean, 100, 200-page protocols. That's like the rule now. Whereas it used to be 25, 30 pages. You can't even get the investigators to read the thing. No. Right? Like, they sign that they're going to follow it, but they've not even read the thing, because they go, oh, I'm not going to read 200 pages. So there's, investigator summary. There's plain language summary that you can use for your assent or your informed consent documents to your IRB. You can take like their landing pages for recruitment ads. I mean, there's a lot of things there. Maree is just today, I signed the notice from her group. They're going to work on templates for ISO 14155 for
Yeah,
us.
that's right.
The
Yeah.
industry is very drug oriented, right? Because that's where the majority of the money is. But we tend to do more device trials. So we do operate under ICH, but more 14155. So that's coming, and that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, that's going to save a 5 hours at least, I think you said. So, well, you know, that'll be great. That'll be great. I'm just checking if there's any other questions. There was one question about protocols, just to clarify before we finish up. We don't create protocols. We take protocols as the input. So I think there's a lot of AI products out there that do create protocols. So we focused on that, really the simplification of complexity. So and I hope we're awesome at it. So I think we'll finish.
We do write protocols. If you need a protocol written, please give us a call. And we don't AI them. We do the research and figure that out. So we start with that protocol synopsis, and that's pretty easy if you're a de novo. Like, we can find what product code you are, and come up with like an outline for you that we can feed into Clinials, and get you that kind of stuff. And a lot of fundraising startup companies, like, what's your first question as a CEO? How much is this trial going to cost?
Yeah.
And until you have your protocol, you can't cost it. You can't, so really this is sort of forming the foundation, if you are a startup company, to get sort of your core documents together. And then you can take it to various CROs and get a bid, a knowledgeable bid, versus just sort of a wild guess from them.
Exactly. And being able to extract that scheduled activities from the protocol as well, is simplified. And we'll do more. I mean, I have to, I can say that we'll do more with, the billing side of things, e-source templates, they're all coming up. So, but, we'll prioritize, what we can. So I think on that note, look, it's, thank you so much, Sally, for the conversation.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah, and how do people find you if they'd like to speak to you later?
On the LinkedIn advertisement that they signed up through, does that have my LinkedIn connection?
Yep, LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's best. Yeah.
Or it's Sally Dillehay, no space, SDILLEHAY at ClinTrial.Solutions.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I guess we've got the recording, and people can contact you mainly through LinkedIn in any way. So thank you, everybody that's listened in today. Oh, great. Thank you. You've put that there. And we, we want to help you. So go to the website, do your free trial, give us feedback, and continue on. It works out about the ROI of under $30 a document. So I'm sure it's going to be beneficial straight away to you. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Maree, and to your team as well.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you, Emily. Emily's on our team.